Hey guys, so today I'm coming at you from a different angle of my living room, my room of living, and today I'm going to be reviewing, in a non-spoilery kind of way, Goldenhand by Garth Nix. If some of you don't already know, this is the 5th in the Old Kingdom series, which is amazing. I'll put all the links to previous reviews to do with the Old Kingdom series down below, as well as my tag that me and Stephen from Alf Books created during the release of this book. I think this came out around October of 2016, and so we made an Old Kingdom tag. If you do want to watch that and do it yourself, feel free to link your responses in the comments section and I'll give that a watch. But anyway, enough of that self-promotion. I'm going to be talking about Goldenhand. So, as I already mentioned, it's the 5th in the Old Kingdom series, and in this book we're following kind of, I guess, 2 storylines that eventually blend into one. So, one of the main storylines is we're following Lirael, who I absolutely love. I can't remember how I felt about her in the previous books, but she's just grown on me so much now. I really enjoy her as a character, and she's no longer a shy second assistant librarian. She is a person in waiting, and she's also a remembrancer, so she can see back in the past as well, which is a really good and unique skill for someone of the Clayer race, which you'll understand more if you've read the books. So she is on her journey, you know, kind of patrolling, being a Paulson, doing what Paulsons do, when she comes across Nicholas again, and she's like, oh crap, what has happened to this guy? He's laying unconscious, there's some free magic creature next to him, I need to sort this out, let's do this. So at that same time, we're also flitting between chapters. They have alternating chapters with this girl who comes from the far north, and she's desperately trying to get a message to the Clayer regarding Lirael, as she has a message from her mother from beyond the grave. What? I know. So the synopsis in itself, there's so much more on Goodreads. I feel like you'd somewhat maybe spoil the experience for yourself if you read everything that was in the Goodreads synopsis, but what I've given you I think is enough for you to feel a little bit, you know, salivated with excitement. As strange as that sounds. But anyway, I was really excited to pick this up. I did pick it up pretty much as soon as it released, and because I knew it was like the latest and newest, and maybe I didn't know the last book in the Old Kingdom series, I just took ages to read it because I just didn't want it to be over. But yeah, so here is my non-spoilery thoughts. If you are interested in some kind of incohesive spoilers, I do have a portion removed that you can choose to view on my Goodreads review if you're interested, and as usual my Goodreads profile is like linked in the description if you want to check it out. But I gave this book 3 stars, and to be honest, I wasn't as completely in love with it as I was hoping for. I think I kind of overhyped myself because I just adore the series so much. I just wanted possibly too much from it, and I guess that kind of dampened how I felt after reading it. But to be honest, it is still a really good book, and I'm so glad that we got more of this world and the characters, because I grew up pretty much with this series. I remember reading the very first book at a very young age, and I was like, oh my god, I love it. I think this is one of the books that actually got me into reading like fantasy, like high fantasy sort of thing. Well, I don't know if you'd class this as high fantasy, but yeah, fantasy nevertheless. So I think it will always have a love for me there, and I think that internal love just kind of always makes me super excited when a new release is brought out. So it's my own fault, but that doesn't mean like it's not a great book. You'd probably read this and be like, oh yeah, it's awesome, you know what I mean? But yeah, that's just how I felt about it. Okay, so there's this short novella called The Creature in the Case, which is following Nicholas and it's more in the world of like Anne Celeste, if I remember correctly. Now, when I was reading this, mostly for the beginning portion, I wasn't quite sure if this book was set immediately after that short novella, but you know, I was kind of clouded in my thoughts, and after a while, especially with the help of some of the asterisks that was included by Garth Nix, which I really appreciated, it kind of cleared my confusion a little bit, and I understood where the storyline kind of matched up with previous books and stuff like that. So I will say, you may be slightly confused, maybe it was just me, I'm not too sure, but that should go shortly after. The story in itself was actually quite solid. I love that we had kind of the perspective of someone completely different, a character we'd never met before, and then Lirael, one that I quite adored and wanted to see her grow as a character. I liked that we had those kind of opposing chapters, and I liked the stories in each part and how they connected and made sense as the book went on. I will say I much preferred Lirael's chapters to Ferrins, which is the girl that we're following in the other, like, I guess half of the book, if you want to call it that way. I just hit my head on the piano. Ow, I should probably stop moving about. Actually, I'm quite comfortable. Anyway, I just think maybe because I was used to Laurel's voice and her character, and I just really wanted to get to know her again because it had been so long since I'd read from her, I guess. And Ferrin, I wasn't too sure about her at first, so that's probably why I much preferred Laurel's chapters, you know, for the most part, you know. I will say, in terms of the splitting of the point of views, I felt like it was a little bit choppy, and that, to be honest, you could just read all of Laurel's part on its own and then all of Ferrin's parts on its own, and it would make sense. I feel like it was just chopped not as smoothly as it could be to make it like blend into a story in the way that it was edited. I don't really know how to explain what I'm trying to explain, but maybe if you read it you kind of know what I mean. I don't really know how to express that opinion. Again, I've written that down in my Goodreads review, so it might be a bit more understandable in like text formation than me spewing out all this nonsense. So actually this is the first time I've dog-eared a book in a long time. I generally don't do that to my books. I don't feel the need to. I have bookmarks. I like using bookmarks and stuff. But there was this quote. I'll read it to you, and it just made me chuckle. I had to go back and read it a few times and then make note of it because it really made me laugh. You're probably going to be hearing this out of context now and be like, Jen, that's not really funny, but it was funny to me, so I want to share that, okay? So it says, there were just two young people kissing across a table, one with his elbow on a piece of leftover eel and the other with her left hand in a pile of salt from the knocked-over salt cellar. I don't know why, but it just made me chuckle because it was just, I guess, everything that was happening, and then to just have that simple little bit with the awkwardness surrounding the kiss and everything, it was just, I don't know, it's perfect, and it made me giddy and it made me chuckle, and I just wanted to share that little quote with you. So although I really adored Laurel, I just loved seeing her again. I loved seeing her grow in confidence and in her skills. I ended up quite liking Ferrin as well as a character eventually. She was really determined and resilient and strong, and I loved how she kind of just pushed herself into places where if it was me I'd feel extremely uncomfortable with all that responsibility, you know, being who she is as well and what her kind of name means, again, which you'll understand if you read the book. So she was just so strong, and I really ended up appreciating that, especially when it came to certain situations in the book where that strength was needed. So yeah, that was really great. And as for Nick, now I would say the three main characters are Laurel, Nick and Ferrin. That's why I'm only kind of talking about them. Of course the other characters such as Sabriel and Touchstone, I think that's his name, I can't remember exactly, and Prince Samuth and that, they're all in it as well, but they play much more minor roles than these three characters I'm talking about. So yeah, back to Nick. I don't know, I think I've had, if I remember correctly, again it's been a little while since I read the very first books, but I feel like I had kind of a love-hate relationship before with him in the past, about how kind of snobbish he was and stuff like that. I don't know, he wasn't part of the old kingdom, he was more modernised and stuff, and I just didn't like how he was sometimes. But now I kind of like him better as a character because I feel like he's deserved a place. I don't know, that sounds really silly. Like, I think he's a great character and everything, but I feel like he deserves a place in my heart now because of the stuff that he's been through and the way he's helped others and stuff like that. I will say I am mystified at his character now. After the events that happened in this book, I am left with questions as to how it works. Is it a plot hole? Is it not? Am I just not seeing the connections on how that is possible? Or is it just simply a fantasy little, I don't know, quirk that just makes sense because it's fantasy? I don't know. If you know what I'm talking about, maybe we could have some sort of conversation. I don't want you to spoil anyone, so please, if you do talk about it, mention there's spoilers. But yeah, I'm left with a little bit of, oh no, mystification about him as a character and how he can be physically, you know. Yeah, interesting. So unfortunately I didn't get too like invested in this book until we was like mainly at the end where everything was happening and going crazy. I wouldn't say I'm disappointed by any stretch. I am not disappointed in this book. I would just say I guess I'm underwhelmed, which I shouldn't really be because I read Clariel, which I think was one of the newest kind of ones before this, and I wasn't too keen on that. I think the main trilogy is a solid trilogy, and that I do get, even though like I'm really instantly excited when a new one of the Old Kingdom books comes out, I'm instantly kind of like, oh, is it gonna work, is it not? But that excitement overrides it, so because of that I am a little bit underwhelmed I guess just comparing it to the main trilogy, which I love so much. But that was just a load of nonsense that I'm spewing out. I'm so sorry that I was like all over the place. But yeah, I don't know if there's going to be any more in this series. I don't know how I feel about if there would be any more in this series. I guess excited but apprehensive as well. But yeah, that's all for my review on Goldenhand by Garth Nix. Please let me know if you have checked out the book and enjoyed it, disliked it, whatever you thought about it, or perhaps if you want to read it. Yeah, I will speak to you in another video soon. Thank you for watching. Bye!